Hey, you.
Who? Me?
Yeah, you. Is this really how you store your human body parts?
Yeah. And?
Don't you want to be taken seriously by the other mad scientists at the next Mad Scientist convention? Well, now you can take your human body part storage from this disgusting pile of nothing to this.
Wow! Who's saying wow?
Oh, you can with this generic fish tank air pump motor. With the generic fish tank air pump motor, you can take your mad scientist laboratory to the next level. All you need is this pump and 30 other working pieces.
Cool, I guess.
Now your mad scientist laboratory will be the toast of the scientific world, with your human body parts not only preserved amazingly, but also looking aesthetically beautiful. Watch out, Victor Frankenstein. There's a new mad scientist in town.
But I'm a homicidal maniac, not a mad scientist.
Oh. Get your generic water air pump today, regardless of what your human remains need preserving for. Jar not included, human remains cannot be guaranteed being preserved, not recommended for the use of children. Hey guys, it's me, Halloween Dan, and today we are attempting probably the simplest project that I've ever really put together. It's something that I'm pretty sure most of you could achieve in some way, shape or form. I just wanted to do this because obviously I'm going for that mad scientist aesthetic this year. I thought it would be really cool. I saw someone else do this, so I thought I'd give it a go. So join me in this journey. So for those of you who didn't quite get the memo from that weird little intro, what I am attempting to make today is a really simple human body part in a jar, going for that mad scientist aesthetic. So I've got hold of a jar. This is a used coffee jar that we got from Costco actually. I've got my body part. It's probably the only human body part I've got.
What the heck?
It's a fake body part. I don't censor this. It's not real, guys. It's a heart. And then I've got this pump. Now, I have had a pump already. This was from a fish tank we used to have. They're pretty cheap. This one actually was more expensive because it has two outlets for two air streams. This one I think was about £25. You can buy them as cheap as £10. They're available in most pet shops, anywhere that basically sells fish tanks really. And they're really good. They're just a simple little pump. They don't use a lot of electricity. They just pump air into a water source, which is exactly what this is going to be. The other thing you may need, depending on the size of your jar, is a hot glue gun to hold your body part of choice in place, because most of these things, obviously being plastic, they want to float. So I'm not sure. My jar's not the biggest in the world, so it might not be needed. I'm just going to have a little practice with it, but the hot glue gun is here in case. The only other thing you'll probably need is some deionized water or some distilled water. Clearly this is just going to be water in a jar with a body part. But I've always found whenever I do a project that involves water being kept in something like a jar, the water goes a bit funny after a little while. It kind of clouds up, goes a bit manky looking, mostly because I think it's like the chemicals, probably the minerals that are in the water leaching out into the water. If you put deionized water or distilled water, probably more deionized water to be honest, it's had all those chemicals, it's had all those minerals removed, it's completely stale, flat water, so it's perfect for these sorts of projects. The only other thing worth mentioning that you'll probably need to do as well, I'm not sure I'm going to do it because I might not need to, is you might need to drill a hole in the top of your jar. Obviously air's going to be bubbling up through this and you're going to have an escape route for that air. Drilling glass can be difficult, so there might be different ways of doing it. For now I'm literally just going to have my jar not fully closed so that the air can escape a little bit. But I'll play around with this. Let's just see how we get on. So this is the semi-finished result. It's not perfect, as nothing I ever make is. Basically, what I did was, after pouring the deionized water in, basically all the gluing I did might as well have been for nothing. Because, for what, I don't know, the hot glue mustn't work particularly well on a glass jar, maybe not, I'm not sure. But basically the heart came away, and also the plastic pipe came away from the side of the jar. So that was all literally for nothing. So it's up to you whether you choose to do that. But to be quite honest with you, at least for me and the jar that I'm using, it was a completely unnecessary thing. Because the tube sits nicely at the bottom anyway, because I've wedged it with the lid. The heart, because it's not a massively sized jar, can't really go anywhere. So it's sat quite nicely framed right in the center of the jar. If you're wondering what all the random bits floating around are, they are bits of glow-in-the-dark paint. That I had found a jar of glow-in-the-dark paint, and I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to add them to the water just to see what kind of an effect it gets when under a black light. So I had this really little cheap black light that I've had for many, many years, and I thought I'll throw that behind just to see what it does. And yeah, the water does glow now. It's only glowing slightly, but it is glowing a little bit. I also have added a red light underneath this. That's why it's sat on this roll of silver tape, because what I'm planning to do when this is in situ is have it sat on some sort of a board or something with a gap underneath, so I can put a light, whether it be a UV lamp or whether it be an actual little puck light that obviously lights up, and then I can change the color to whatever I like. Right now I've got it on red because it's a heart, and the water is kind of glowing, this glowing effect. I'm not sure how happy I am about all the bits floating around in it. I'm hoping they will dissolve in a little while, but they might, to be honest with you, just end up staying. It's supposed to look like a gross heart in a jar, so a few bits floating around isn't really going to hurt anybody. It's not too bad. Overall, I like the bubbling effect. I might decide to do something with the lid, make it so that I can actually close the lid properly by drilling some air holes into the lid, and also maybe a space for the tube to go in. But actually, like everything I make, it's kind of makeshift, kind of just sort of doing the bare minimum to get by. It looks like a heart in a jar that's bubbling away. I think it's a really fun, easy project. It took me like 10 minutes to do this. So I think it's pretty good. I'm toying with the idea. I might add perhaps some colouring to the water. I've not decided. I've got to have to do a few experiments with this. And because this pump that I've got has a double tube, I might be able to do this with a second jar as well, maybe get hold of a hand or something like that. But in general, this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the results. Not so sure about the gross bits floating around at the minute. I might change the water, I've not decided. But it's not too bad. I think it looks okay.
So from me and the first of my Mad Scientist Laboratory makes, I bid you farewell. I hope that this was even a slight inspiration. I'm sure you could do a better job than me. And I will see you in the next one. Keep it spooky. Bye.